Hello my bullet journaling friends, it's Erin, and for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope you're enjoying your first few weeks of spring. It's autumn for us here in Australia, but I'm living vicariously through you and through my bullet journal too. Today I'm sharing 4 of my favourite easy weeklies for your bullet journal, with a little bit of a springtime twist. Just for context, I'm using a Notebook Therapy A5 bullet journal for this setup, which has 26 spaces across and 38 spaces down. If you're using a different bullet journal that's a different size, then you might need to adapt these layouts a little bit to make them fit into your book. Throughout this video, I'm going to be using a Pigma Micron 03 fine liner, some washi tapes from the washi tape shop, and also my ARTISTRO brush tip paint pens as well. If you're keen to get your hands on anything that you see me using, just jump into the description box. There are links to everything there, as well as in the blog post that goes along with this video as well. Let's get into it. This first weekly spread is a spread. It covers both the left and the right page. If you're not too sure about terminology between spreads and pages, click on the link in the top right corner. I have a whole video about bullet journal terminology just to help you out. So this one's going to have 4 columns on the right page and 3 columns on the left page. So the 3 on the left for me will be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then on the right page, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you prefer your weeks to start on a Sunday, then you can absolutely do that. You don't have to do it exactly like me. Each of these columns are 6 spaces wide, and I've positioned them so they have a bit of negative space at the top, at the bottom, and also on the left side of the left page, just to give me a bit of room to play with for decoration. And also, negative space looks nice. I think negative space looks nice and calming. I'm adding a colored line at the top of each of the boxes, and that's where I'm going to put the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, so on and so forth. And then the number for each day, I'm actually jumping in just where we are at the moment. The day this video goes up is the 28th of March here in Australia. I believe it's still Sunday for those of you in the US when my videos go live. I'm adding just a little underline under each of the numbers to give it a bit of extra definition. And then I'm gonna add a line as well underneath that just to demarcate. The top space will be for events on each of these days, and the bottom space is for tasks, to-do list things. If you have a lot more events in a single day than I do, say you're a student and you need to put your whole timetable for a day at school in that space, then you can absolutely just move that line a little bit lower. So that's the bare bones of this layout. You could absolutely leave it there if you like a really minimalist look. You could even use a thicker pen. I've been known to use the bullet end of a Tombow dual brush pen for this setup in the past for my February 2021, which I'll pop a link to up in the top right corner if you want to see this particular layout. It's the exact same setup, it's just decorated differently, so, you know, options. Now I'm going to jump in with some washi tape. This is the Tenohira Sakura washi tape from the washi tape shop. I'm just going to add a stripe to balance out that negative space down the left side and trim it to fit my page. And then I'm going to use the other one as a bit of a sticker. I'll do this to the other color as well that we've just used, but I'm just going to peel back a bit of the washi tape and just trim around the edges of the design so that it kind of looks like it was always meant to be a sticker. Washi tape is so versatile. I'm going to deliberately pop it down over the top of the lines on this right side box situation. I don't often get all the way to the bottom with my tasks because, you know, there's space for them every day and there's only so many things a single person can get done in a single day. So I like having my design elements interact with my practical elements like this. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side, just a little bit of something. I think I went a bit too hard with this one. I could have done something a bit smaller, but you know, once you stick it down, you've stuck it down. And if washi tape isn't your thing, you could use stickers, you could add doodles. I drew little roses on this for my February setup that I linked you to earlier. You can do whatever you like. So now we're going to move on to 2 single page weeklies. Single page weeklies are really good for anyone who likes to conserve space in their bullet journal. Excuse me while I go through all my stickers while I work out how I'm going to decorate this left page here. This one is probably the most loose and flowy weekly that I'm going to show you in this video. In my blog post, I called it my floating bubbles single page weekly because it has this oceanic color scheme and theme going on here. So I've picked out some stickers that I like and I'm going to use them in the top left corner and the bottom right corner of the page just to give some structure and some color and some interest to the page. And then I'm going to add little bubbles for each day. Now, these don't have to be bubbles. I'm calling them bubbles because I have an oceanic theme going on here. But they could just be little circles. They could be an illustration if you'd prefer, like a little mushroom or something. They can be whatever you like. And the way they're going to work is starting from the top, approximately center of the page, they're going to sweep out a bit to the right, curve back around to the left, and just kind of hug that negative space that's in the middle of the page. So there's going to be 7 bubbles from the top to the bottom, and guess why? Because they each represent a day of the week. So I'm just using my paint pen to add the little circles. They don't need to be exact. If you have stamps, if you have stickers that you'd rather do this with so that it looks a little bit more structured, absolutely. I didn't measure the space between these bubbles, I just kind of eyeballed it. And now I'm gonna grab my lowercase letter stamps that I picked up from Stationery Pal. I got a whole bunch of stuff from Stationery Pal, and if you want to see the rest of it, I'll pop a link to that video up in the top right corner for you. I'm just using those along with another of my paint pens to add just the first 3 letters for each day. So MON for Monday, TUE for Tuesday, so on and so forth. I find using paint pens for stamping instead of a stamp pad is just more convenient because then I don't have to have as much stuff. This way I can stamp in any color that I already have a paint pen for, and I've heard people say they also do this with Tombows and stuff like that too, so it doesn't have to necessarily be a paint pen. But now I don't have to buy a stamp pad in every color of the rainbow that I already have a pen for, so that's convenient. I'm using a white paint pen. This one's actually from Posca, it's not from ARTISTRO. To add the number for each day, just gonna fix up where I accidentally used a J instead of an I for Friday, also with the white paint pen. And I thought it needed a little something extra, so I'm gonna add this kind of galaxy starry effect with the 2 blue pens that I've used so far and also a silver. These are just little asterisks and little dots, but they make this lovely stardusty kind of effect. So I'm just putting those in between each of the bubbles. And the space to the right of each of these day of the week titles is where you can do all of your planning. This is the kind of page that looks amazing once it's got all of your planning down on it. It actually looks better than it does before you use it, which I think is really cool. I also think this layout could be really good for one of those a few lines a day kind of layouts where it's like a short form version of journaling, right? Where you just write a few lines every day about what you did, where you went, what you thought, what you felt. So that's the loose and free flowing weekly. What about a structured single page weekly? This one is actually really similar to the weekly that I currently favor. I've spread mine into a 2-page version, but this is it condensed down into 1 page for the very practical and pragmatic people among us. So the way this one works is there is a left column which is divided into 7, once again for the days of the week, and a right column which is a rolling task list or a running to-do list. Whatever you like to call it, they're the same thing. To be totally honest with you, I'm not stoked on the color scheme that I've chosen for this page. It's kind of green and gold, which is like the Australian Olympic uniforms. I am Australian, but I don't really want to put the Olympic uniforms in my bullet journal. It's just not really my thing. You can choose better colors than me. So those 7 spaces on the left are where you write down your events, and that extra long column on the right is where you write down all of your tasks. And this way you don't have to migrate your task from one day to the next if you didn't get to it, which can sometimes make you feel really guilty if you're like, look at all these things I told myself I was going to do today that I didn't get to, and now I have to move them. Now you don't have to move them, you don't have to feel guilty, you can just cross it off when you get to it. That left column, each of those sections are 5 spaces tall and 10 spaces wide, plus 1 extra space on the left side for the heading. The to-do column is 13 spaces wide, and it works out to 34 spaces tall for space for you to write your tasks, because that 35th space up the top is for the heading for my to-do list. And on this last one, we're going back to another 2-page spread here. So I've called this one my stacked boxes. Something about this just makes me think of when you've just organized your wardrobe and you've put all of your out of season clothes in boxes and stacked them up in the top of the wardrobe. That's kind of what this layout reminds me of. So again, I'm doing 3 days on the left and 4 days on the right. You could mix that up and make it 4 on the left and 3 on the right, or you could just do 6 boxes and combine the Saturday, Sunday into 1 box if you like. I'm adding rounded corners here, and I've decided to freehand these ones because I thought it would be cute and fun and playful. And in that space up the top, I'm adding a tiny little calendar up there so I can keep track of the month at a glance without having to turn back a few pages in my book to see what day something happens on. Say I want to know what day the 5th was, I can check up there. You could absolutely leave that space blank. You could put a decoration there. You could add a heading. I am going to add a little heading up there. I'm adding a little bit more washi tape here. This one is from the Washi Tape Shop's fragrance set. Cute little daisies. I love this washi tape. I'm adding it right along the edge of the page on the outside. And because this washi tape has this beautiful gold sheen on it, which you can only see when I move it around like this, unfortunately, because of the light, I thought I'd jump in with a gold paint pen. And it's doing something a little bit funky. It's not coming out a uniform color, but that's okay. We're gonna roll with it anyway. Looks better in real life than it does on camera here. I'm skipping the top row of each of the boxes and I'm adding this line of gold on the second space down. And of course, I'm just gonna add my heading for each day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so on and so forth. The 18th, 19th, 20th, so on and so forth. And I'm using a very flowy, spacious kind of hand lettering style here. It's basically just my handwriting, but a little bit more spaced out because I wanted it to look whimsical and springtime and fun. Next up, I'm adding this little April heading up the top here. I've kind of just progressed through these as though I was setting up for the month, which is funny because that makes this like my third April 2022 setup that I've done. There's a link to my actual April 2022 setup up in the corner, and I also made a video showing how I'd use my PHOMEMO printer in a bullet journal setup, and that's April as well, so that's kind of funny. And that's it for these 4 spring-inspired weeklies for your bullet journal. If you do decide to try any of these out, I would absolutely love to see what you do. I'm on Instagram at erinsmith.art. Please DM me a picture or tag me in your photo or something like that. I just want to see. And of course, please do subscribe if you'd like to see more bullet journaling and stationery content from me. I'd love for you to join my little internet family. That would make me really happy. But until then, have a wonderful week, stay safe, and happy journaling. Bye.